That's really what it is. So I don't care if some trans person wants me to call them a woman. Like, I'm going to call you a woman. I'm not going to like put my fucking foot down about it. I don't give a fuck.
If I told you right now, call me daddy, would you call me daddy?
Bet-David brought on Andrew Schulz live on the PBD Podcast on the Valuetainment YouTube channel, and things took a little bit of a turn on this podcast. Not until like a heated turn, but probably like I would say like a trolling turn, where they started trolling each other when they were talking about this one topic on the PBD Podcast. Then they just started trolling each other. And I mean, I thought it was pretty funny, not going to lie. But let's go ahead and get into this clip here where Patrick Bet-David absolutely roasts Andrew Schulz when he said this live on the PBD Podcast on the Valuetainment YouTube channel.
I think there's going to be some people that even after, with all the evidence, okay, there's still going to be some people that are like, I don't know about that. I think this. But I think the score is going to go from whatever it is right now, 63%, 64% of the fact that there was a second shoot or whatever. There's percentages on this. I think that's going to go to 85, 90%. It's never going to go to 100% because some people just don't want to believe it.
That's the thing. And then once you've committed your life to something, it's, what do they say with people with cults? Like when the cults get exposed, they get even more devout.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing that happens, but like it's because you're so shameful. You're so embarrassed that you could believe something so stupid, so that once it gets exposed, you actually double down. So it's
exactly. I mean, that's kind of what's going on with the Democratic Party today, though, right?
With what? Great pivot,
right? That's what's going on with the Democratic Party today.
I think what you're talking about, like their lack of ability to kind of understand where kind of mainstream America's sentiments are.
The only guy that's saying we screwed up with transgender is Newsom. The only guy that's
he wants to be president.
He wants to be. He reads like he's got to get to the center, but everybody else like no, trans this, and we still believe in this, and we that is not fair, and that you better call him a woman because she is a woman. No, he's a man. No, and there's the ruckus on what was it, House Congress, Rob, the one congressman got up and speaks, and they were upset because somebody called him sir. You know which one I'm talking about, Rob?
Yes,
yeah. I mean, they still don't want to give that up. That's a dude, right?
That's a dude.
Which one? Which one? The senator? There's a congressman that's trans? Is that what you're saying?
Of course there is.
This one right here.
Watch this. Go for it.
If you enjoy content like this, make sure to go ahead and like the video, comment your thoughts, subscribe to the channel. It would help me out a lot. Let's get back to the video.
As the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr. Chairman,
Madam
could
Chair.
you repeat your introduction again, please?
Yes, we have set the standard on the floor of the House, and I'm simply.
What is that standard, Mr. Chairman? Would you repeat what you just said when you introduced a duly elected representative from the United States of America? Please.
I will. The representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Boom.
Mr. Chairman, you are out of order.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, have you no decency?
Okay.
I mean, I've come to
Which
know
one
you
is
a little
Mr.
bit. This is
McBride?
not-
All the way on the right.
Right here.
Can you pull up the picture on Mr. McBride?
At least it looks like.
So she's a trans woman, right?
Trans woman.
So like this is the thing that actually I think is where everybody loses. If she wants to identify as like a woman, and you want to call her, and that's what she wants you to call her, just fucking call her a woman. It's not
going to happen.
Okay. Let me make the whole argument.
Please make the argument.
Okay.
I'm so curious what this.
Let me make the whole argument.
Give it to us.
I don't think the average person thinks that much about trans, especially the average conservative person. What I think the frustration was, and now they shouldn't have that frustration because now they're in power, but I think the frustration was for years they felt like there was a lot of there's a lack of, I think, common sense is the rhetoric that you're seeing now from the right, that there was a lack of common sense with like Democrat ideology and the things they were pushing through. And trans is just the highest rung of the ladder. So it would start at something like this. And this is what a lot of my friends were hearing. It's like, we don't call people Latinos or Latinas. We call them Latinx. And then you would go to your friends and you'd be like, what do you like? Yo, do y'all want to be called Latinx? And they'd be like, I don't even know what the fuck that is, right? And then you'd go back to your work and be like, yeah, I spoke to some of my Spanish friends that they don't even know what Latinx is. And then the reaction is, how dare you? What are you, some bigot? That's racist. Stop being so insensitive. So immediately you get taken back. You go, okay, wow. I was just asking questions. I spoke to my Spanish friends. They said that they don't even want to be called that. But all right, this kind of feels weird, but I'm not going to push back. then you find out that like a drag queen is teaching English at your school or something like that, which I know is blown out of proportion, but still you hear a story about it and you're like, you just go into the school, you're like, hey, just out of curiosity, why is there like a drag queen like teaching the kindergartners how to read? What is that about? How dare you? What are you, some bigot? But they're a performer. We have performers come in here all the time. Be like, okay, I'm just asking a question. You keep calling me a bigot. And the feeling, the emotional feeling for like the parent or the person in that situation is, hey, this doesn't really make sense. And everybody's kind of pretending. And then the final rung of that ladder is trans women competing in women's sports, right? And I think that not that many people are actually really caring about trans people or thinking about them every single day, but it's like it's the argument that is infallible. You present it to your friend that is like, staunchly Democratic. You present it to your congressman. You're like, hey, do you think this is unfair? You made me feel like a bigot with the Latinx thing. You made me feel weird about the drag queen thing. But this is 1 + 1 = 2. And if you refute that, it's actually very comforting for the conservative because you go, oh, this whole time I was being gaslit into thinking I was the crazy person when in reality you're not operating on like an honest playing field. You're caught up in the ideology. So I think that's really what it is. So I don't care if some trans person wants me to call them a woman. Like, I'm going to call you a woman. I'm not going to like put my fucking foot down about it.
Andrew, if I told you right now, call me daddy, would you call me daddy?
No.
Why not?
Well, because you're not my dad.
Andrew.
But you're not my dad.
But I want you to call me daddy. I view myself as your daddy.
Well, but you're not my dad.
But you're right. Not. She's not a man.
But if you want
she's not a woman.
But if you wanted me
to
to call you son, I would call you son.
Yeah, I get what you're doing here. You're having fun with it, right?
No, I'm not. It doesn't affect me at all. Calling me daddy insults my dad.
Yeah, but calling you ma'am insults my intelligence. Insults science. It insults facts. It insults, an actual, you were born a man. You want me to call you a woman because it hurts your feelings?
So this is where I think about, like, and obviously I don't think there's ever going to be like a version of us like getting some understanding of this, but like, I think the greater concern is this becoming a social trend and there being like young influential kids that start making decisions about their body that are irreversible. And as a parent, I obviously have a concern about that, right? Because you start taking these hormones, you start lopping shit off your body, you're not going to get that back. Like, this is like a really dangerous, potentially situation. But if you ask me if there are 8 billion people on the planet, right? 8 billion people on the planet, and I see a person born with a foot coming out of their head on Instagram every other fucking day, weird shit happens.
Sure.
To me, the weirdest shit, body dysmorphia or whatever it is, or gender dysmorphia. Like, to me, that's not like unbelievable. If 8 billion people on the planet, God, there are kids born with fucking cancer. Like, there are crazy things that happen in our existence, and that's not even close to one of the craziest.
Yeah, but this is
a different story.
This is a different story because this is not something that happens naturally. This is something that happens 5, 10, 15, 20 years into your life where you want to play dress up. How many days a year is Halloween? 1 day a year. But you want to play Halloween and dress up every single day. And you want me to pretend that you're a leprechaun or a ghost or a donkey every single day.
We have
of the
a
year.
disagreement. I think when it comes to like leprechaun or ghost or daddy or any of those things, I think that we're on the same page.
I think in this conversation between Patrick Bet-David and Andrew Schulz, it started off as a serious conversation about transgender issues. But as usual on the PBD podcast, it took a turn that was both hilarious and, I guess I would say sharp too. At first, they were talking about how most average Americans don't obsess over trans people, but they do get frustrated when common sense just seems to go out the window. And for example, Andrew Schulz made a fair point. He said, if a trans person wants me to call them a woman, fine, I'll call them a woman. I'm not putting my foot down about it. His whole point that he just doesn't really care about it that much. Just don't force people to lie or abandon basic facts. But when Patrick Bet-David stepped in with a perfect troll move, he looked at Andrew and said, okay, so if I told you to call me daddy, would you do it? And just everybody laughed. And Andrew was like, well, no, because you're not my dad. And then Pat goes, yeah, but what if I feel like your dad? I identify as your daddy. Wouldn't it hurt my feelings if you didn't call me that? And that right there was the moment that flipped the whole discussion. Pat was making a sharp point through humor. If we're expected to change reality to match how someone feels, where does it end? If calling Pat daddy, for example, feels weird because obviously it's not true, Why is it different when someone demands to be called woman or a man when they're biologically not? The message wasn't hateful at all. It was about drawing a line between kindness and forced compliance. And I think the conversation also touched on how this kind of social pressure just stacks up, whether it's being told to say Latinx when most Latinos don't even use the word, or drag queens doing story time for kindergartners. People just start feeling like they're being gaslit. Like common sense is just being thrown out the window, and if you question it, you're immediately labeled a bigot. And that's a real problem. And towards the end, they both admitted this whole thing becomes dangerous when kids get caught in it, which, I mean, I totally agree. And I think most rational people can just basically agree on that. When young people make irreversible decisions about their bodies, it's not just a live and let live situation anymore. As Pat said, this isn't about being a leprechaun on Halloween. This is real life, and people deserve the freedom to speak honestly without being shamed for it. So yeah, if Pat wants to be called daddy, and that's probably going to be a hard pass, but he made a point, and I think that's stuck on Andrew Schulz. Let me know what you guys think about this topic in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.